This conference will now be recorded.
All right, the time is now 6:54 and the City Council of Woodland is out of executive session. We'll be taking a 6-minute break before we start the regular session. Thank you.
And it was already
This conference will now be recorded.
Stand by.
I waited too long. I was waiting for you to walk in.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Nope, now it's okay.
There we go.
It said it was live, but it says start recording. You see, it's not.
That's what it did to me last time.
If you do it after 7, it will. I was waiting for 7 by that clock, and I should have done for 7 by this clock. I don't think you have it.
Because this one and this one are different.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Well, you probably don't have it. But
Okay, I'm recording over here,
okay.
so we're good. Okay,
Okay.
thank you, Gina. I'll make a note on the, there we go. All right, good evening, everybody. It is 7:01 on February 16th, 2021. This is a regular meeting for the City Council of Woodland. For those of you that are trying to join us on YouTube, we are having some technical difficulties with that this time. So at this time, we will just have the recording from our go-to meeting. At this time, if I can get everyone to please, thank you, silence your microphones so we don't get a lot of background, and any cell phones in the room, and rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. We're all in our spots here. We are keeping a 6-foot distance, so my mask has been removed. As long as we keep a 6-foot distance, we can have them off. All right. At this time, where are we here? We'll go and take roll. Councilmember Rounds.
Here.
Councilmember Chapman.
Here.
Councilmember Holland.
Present.
Councilmember Plaza.
Here.
Councilmember Smith.
Here.
Councilmember Rounds. Or sorry, I already called Councilmember. Councilmember Graham and Councilmember Fredericks have both called in this evening, and Chair will accept a motion to excuse them both. Moved by Councilmember Rounds, second by Councilmember Plaza. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? The ayes have it, 5-0. Both council members Graham and Fredericks have been excused this evening. We have no presentations or proclamations this evening, and no one has signed up on, let's see here, on the items not on the agenda, but we do have some citizens online this evening. Is there anyone online that would like to speak to items not on the agenda? I can call on you if you turn your camera on, or at least your mic, and let me know. Okay, Miss Rad, let me get you signed in here. So there she goes. Josh, send me a little text there. Whitney, I'll go ahead and give you 5 minutes if you want to go ahead and let us know what you want to talk about, and you can go ahead and give us your name and start.
Well, I have a question of whether it's on the agenda or off the agenda, if it has to do with the minor billing, because
Okay.
I know there's a piece, but it's not really being spoken about.
So we're not, currently right now, we're still in those discussions. We're having conversations with the union where we haven't come to, council has not come to a conclusion yet with either way of whether to contract out the billing or to keep the billing in-house. Tonight's items on the agenda are to continue at standard practice or current practice until all those other details can be worked out. And I believe, Mr. Boyson, maybe you can help me out, we're looking at maybe August or September when we would be bringing that back forward to actually implement, potentially, or for council to take.
So after we come to terms with the Teamsters bargaining unit, then we'll have a better sense of a timeline. So technically, Minol isn't on the agenda this evening. It will be back again after we come to some agreement with the Teamsters.
Thank you. Does
Okay.
that answer your question, Whitney?
Yeah. So can I speak as an item not on the agenda then?
Yes, you can. You can have 5 minutes.
Okay, thank you. So in my thought process, if the city of Woodland is not currently hiring for those utility positions that may move over into other areas, then basically anything above their FTE is costing more than baseline. So anything with Minol would be additional. If we go to monthly billing, that's obviously additional, because if we're not losing FTEs, then any cost is above what we're currently at. That's one piece of it. I'm not for outsourcing our billing, because our utility clerks, and I've lived here most of my entire life, have been always great to work with. And whenever you outsource, you no longer have the small town people that you know who are actually willing to work with you, help, etc. As I'm also curious, and this is not about the Minol billing, but I want to know what the utility costs are for other small towns in our area. Because to me, the reason why you would go to monthly billing is the same reason why Couts PUD went to monthly billing a number of years ago, and that was because the rate increases were more noticeable. Let's say if you increase 10% and you have a $500 bill, you're going to notice it more when you have an additional $50 than if you're doing it and your monthly bill is $225 and you get $25 extra on your bill, as well as adding the stormwater utility, which I realize is not going into effect yet, but will go into effect. And the sticker shock of getting a $550 bill versus $250 is, when people aren't budgeting monthly, they're not going to see it as easily if they have a monthly bill versus a bi-monthly bill, which is the same amount, but it's a different amount of sticker shock when you get a $550 bill. Third, I have concerns about whether or not our meters are truly being read. And I don't know if they're scanned or if the numbers are actually supposed to be being physically looked at. But I know for my house, when there was a problem with the meter, my neighbor's meter was not even uncovered enough to have been seen at any point in time. And when the city came out, they didn't actually realize that there were two there. So they thought they were turning off the water to my neighbor's house and not mine, because the other meter wasn't even visible. They didn't know that there was a second meter there, which is not like the fault of the public works crew that came out. That means to me that those meters aren't truly being read. And I'm wondering, like, if we're getting rid of what happens to those utility clerks? Where are they being funneled into for other jobs? Because that's still going to come out of the funding. And I realize that we lost FTEs because we had to lay off people because of COVID, but it's not, in my mind, it's not, so this is going back to the Minol piece, but it's, in my mind, it's not really starting at 0, 0. Okay, we're going to build this up, because those employees still have to be paid from somewhere. So you're not going, oh, we're going to go to Minol and it's going to save us $30,000, but it's not actually going to save us $30,000 because we still have the same number of FTEs. So, and I think that's all I have.
Okay, thank you very much. Go ahead, and we put those, I've taken some notes here, and as we get further into this conversation, hopefully we can address those bullet points that you put out there. I know that some of them have been addressed over the last couple of months, but we'll certainly, as we work through this, we'll bring that back to council as well, and hopefully get some research done on those, and so we can satisfy all those questions. Anyone else online for items not on the agenda? Okay, seeing no one, moving on to items on the agenda. There's no one in the gallery this evening or has signed up. Anyone online to speak to items on the agenda this evening? Again, just open up your mic or shoot a text in the chat box there and we will call on you. All right, seeing no one. Come to the portion of the agenda for approval.
Second.
Moved by Councilmember Smith, seconded by Councilmember, was that Plaza?
Yeah.
Plaza. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? The ayes have it, 5-0. Moving on to reports of standing committees. Public safety.
We met this evening at 5:40.
Public Works. Public Works, go ahead, Public Works.
I'm sorry.
Just so excited to be back in the room, Mrs. Rounds.
We did not meet. Yes, I'm excited here. Public Works, I don't have a lot to report here because I don't have the minutes brought up that we talked about. But the guys were out working plenty of hours, scraping the road and doing, for 3 days, they worked lots of overtime hours. So I'd like to thank them for doing that. The booster pump is still on line for May to be done, and up on Scott Hill, and they put about 1,500 pounds of asphalt, which is about 50 potholes that they did. And they're working on the police station a plan, because that's going to be a mobile center, I guess is what it is. And then Eagle Park was vandalized. Some teenagers was on the teeter-totter and broke it. So from the notes that I have, I'll let Tracy fill in the rest. And our next meeting will be 5:30 on 3/15.
All right, thank you. Questions for Mrs. Rounds before I shoot over to Ms. Coleman to give us an update over the weekend. I know you gave us a little one, but hopefully we can maybe some further details, Ms. Coleman, of how things went this weekend. And I know we received a lot amount of, oh my gosh, I can't speak, a ton of snow and some ice. So I'll turn it over to you. And you're muted still.
I know, I went to hit the unmute and I turned my camera off. Oops. Hey, so yes, we had 3 guys working this weekend. We started Friday night. They worked a little bit late Friday, waiting to see if we could plow the roads on Friday, but there was not enough snow on the roads to be able to plow Friday by about 4:30. So the guys went ahead and went home. And then also we didn't put any de-icer down, because when the roads are in a wet condition like that, you don't want to add de-icer to the road because it turns into like a snotty mess. So you don't add de-icer in a situation like that. So the guys started first thing Saturday morning, and they were able to, now mind you, we managed 26 roads. We maintained 26 roads. We have 1 plow. So please bear with me as I explain to you how this works. So we have main thoroughfare roads and we have side roads that we plow. So we started Saturday morning and we went through and plowed all of the main roads twice, once in the morning and once in the evening with our 1 plow. And then on Sunday, the guys went out and they plowed all of the main roads first Sunday morning, and then they plowed all the secondary roads Sunday afternoon. And then on Monday, we actually called in contractors to help us because we couldn't keep up with it. And so we ended up plowing all of the main roads and all the secondary roads on Monday. And I had the guys plow the sidewalks as well to the main downtown corridor, kind of like in front of Red Leaf and going all downtown, even though that's not the responsibility of the city, it's the responsibility of the business owner themselves and the homeowners. We wanted to make sure that we got those plowed off the best that we could, so when we went through with our plows, we could scoop it up and people weren't throwing snow back into the road that we were plowing. So we did that the best we could. I wish that we could get around to all the businesses on both sides of the city. I wish we had the manpower and the dollars to do that, but we just don't. But that's kind of what we did. We had an average of 30 plus hours from each employee just working 3 days. So they were all working 10-hour days. And I think they did a really good job given the financial status that the city has and the manpower and the equipment that the city has. So I'm very proud of the guys for working that, and they didn't get to have a wonderful weekend off or even celebrate President's Day because they were out plowing the road. So I'm impressed with my guys, and I'm very thankful for them, and I appreciate them.
We appreciate you. Thank you. My travels through town over the weekend showed that they were, and I saw them out there working as fast as they could, but some of it was an uphill battle. They'd go through and plow and the snow started again, and then it was almost
Yeah, you can't
effort.
keep up.
Yeah.
Right, you can't keep up. Well, and then on top of that, let's not forget, we also have regular call outs. So we had two water line leaks that we had to repair as well this weekend. And we had trees that were called in where trees came down. So we had to go and take our chainsaw out and cut out trees that had blocked roads. So not only were we plowing, we're also removing trees and fixing water leaks from frozen lines. So, you know, it's we always have two guys in the plow, one guy paying attention to the road or answering phone calls while he's in that passenger seat as the other guy's paying attention to plowing. So we're have one eye on the road and one eye looking out for dogs and kids and sleds and taking phone calls. So just very appreciative of our guys.
Good. Awesome. Thank you very much. I'll pass our appreciation on to them.
Will do.
Mr. Plaza, Public Safety.
The public safety meeting was canceled tonight. So our next meeting will be on March 15th, 2021
All right.
at 5:30 p.m.
Thank you very much. Moving on to reports of advisory committees. Mrs. Graham is not here this evening for Business Chamber. Okay. I know that they're doing their 7:30 legislative call.
And it's at Darlene's office. I didn't know that.
Okay.
They got a conference room now that's set up that's where they're having the call.
Over at Woodland Truck Line. Awesome. Okay. And I know that there was a link that was sent out for a call-in number for those that couldn't make it now too, which is nice. So if you're interested in attending those, get a hold of Denise Miller over at the Visitor Center, and she can get you hooked up with an email. Or is it on the website? Do you know?
I don't know.
Okay. I'll send her an email here. Let's see if we can get that out there for those that want to join in, because it is good information. All right, and moving on to reports of myself and Mr. Boyce this evening. I don't have much to report except just very thankful for our public works crew out there. As I drove around, it was nice to see all the families out playing in the snow. The park was packed on Saturday and Sunday with sledders going down the hill, and it was nice to see everybody out there, especially it came at a good time with a long weekend. I know, Mr. Boyce, I think you had a rough weekend, but I'm glad to see that you're back in the office, and hopefully things are going well for your household. Now I will kick it over to you.
Okay, I just wanted to mention that we have later on in the agenda under action items, we have the tentative agreement with the Woodland Police Association. The Guild has ratified the agreement, and staff is requesting City Council do the same. It's a 3-year agreement. We met some of our operational goals, and I think it keeps us competitive with our comparables, and we're encouraging City Council to ratify. Also, I wanted to point out on the agenda under action items, we have City Council orders, and you haven't seen those before. It's a different vehicle suggested by the city attorney in order to facilitate delaying monthly billing and sticking with bi-monthly billing until that can take place. You have 2 orders. The first one, 2021-1, indicates what the monthly rate will, or what the bi-monthly rate will be. In the resolutions before, it outlined what the monthly rate would be. We had FCS calculate the bi-monthly rates because they're a little bit different than just doubling. And the City Council Order 2021-2, Council indicated they wanted to delay billing for the new stormwater utility, and 2021-2 makes that happen. City Attorney Randolph is here in case folks have questions about the city council order. So I wanted to make sure everyone has a chance to ask the city attorney about that if they need to. As far as upcoming events, right now we just have the Planning Commission meeting on the 18th at 7 p.m. And I think that's all I have right now.
Questions for myself or Mr. Boyce? All right, seeing none. Thank you, Mr. Boyce. Moving on to consent items. Moved by Councilmember Plaza, seconded by Councilmember Smith. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? The ayes have it. Moving on to action items. Action item C, City Council Order 2021-1, an order postponing the transition of certain utility tax billings from bi-monthly billing to monthly billing.
To approve City Council Order number 2021-1.
Second.
Moved by Councilmember Rounds, seconded by Councilmember Chapman. Councilmember Rounds. Councilmember Chapman. Further discussion, Mr. Plaza.
Yeah, I read this earlier, but I can't remember exactly all the details of it. Can you kind of give the Reader's Digest version, someone, of what certain utility tax billings are? Not all of them?
Mr. Boyce, I believe that these are the ones that when the new rates went into effect, there were some transitions between a couple of utility rates. One had dropped down, the others maintained. I believe that this keeps everything consistent of what we're doing right now and nothing is changing. Is that correct, Mr. Boyce? Everything's staying as is right now?
That's correct. So, yeah, the reason for this order is to make sure that anything that covered monthly billing was now to be considered bi-monthly. So we believe we've accomplished that in this. City Attorney Randolph, did you have anything to add?
Yes, sir. I mean, the main thing is what I understood was that they wanted the rates to take effect on February 16th, on today, but there were and there were extensive discussions that built up to that. But the problem was the administrative issue of being able to turn those into the bills on time. So what happens is, just like executives can have orders, council can have as well. And what it is it's very narrow. Rather than coming up with an amendment to change it, everything that was negotiated in November still remains the same. What we've done with the two orders is freeze as opposed to going into monthly billing now, we're doing bi-monthly. I agree with Pete, was to actually spell that out so everyone understands what that is. And likewise, since I wasn't sure what was involved, I left it blank. So with the order, if you want to give them 2 weeks or 6 weeks or 8 weeks or whatever, that would be up for your discussion. And then I understand that while this was going on, the stormwater would just be held off. So I think these orders just tweak. They don't change the extensive stuff that was done. It just freezes it. Council can give orders, and at the same time, once the order is complied with, that has no further authority. So somehow, if there had been a scrivener's error or something like that in the change, that would be a problem. But with these orders, I think it's a pretty simple way of just doing what I understood the council wanted to do.
Mr. Smith?
So with the order 2021-1, are the rate increases still happening, or is this delaying all of the rate increases that were voted on?
Mr. Boyce?
So yes, the rate increases are still happening. We had FCS change the new rates with the increase from monthly to bi-monthly rates. And the reason we had to have FCS, who conducted the rate study for us, do that is because there were costs included for going monthly, either additional staff and or contracting costs. So we backed those out because, at this point, we're not doing that. When and if we go to monthly billing, I believe council said we will go to monthly billing, then the rates that were adopted in the previous resolutions would go into effect.
So the increases are happening and we are staying on bi-monthly billing at this point. So we're not trying to go to monthly billing to hide the increases.
Correct.
That is correct.
I just want to make that clear. Thank you.
Anything further?
My question is have they filled that blank in terms of how long they want that postponed?
Mr. Boyce?
Yeah, and this is a little tough. So what we're hearing from Minol, if we end up contracting, is they would need 4 to 6 months to provide the transition. On February 24th, I believe we're meeting with the Teamsters bargaining unit. It's a mandatory subject of bargaining that we need to discuss with the union, and we're not really able to move forward with any transition or recommendations to City Council regarding whether we contract or do it in-house for monthly billing until that is complete. So, it's a little hard to fill in that blank. But I guess I would recommend that we target October for the change. That should give us plenty of time. If we end up able to do that sooner, we could come back to council for another action. But Minol has told us if we were to contract, they could do it by August or October. But again, that's subject to however long the negotiation with the Teamsters bargaining unit lasts. So I wish I could give more clarity on that date, but unfortunately we don't have that as of yet.
Mr. Randolph?
Yes, sir. What I would just say is make sure you put a date in, because again, since it's with an order, it can always be changed. If things are going faster, you can always move it up. If things are going slower, you can move it. We just need to make sure that some target date is included on both those orders.
Okay. Mrs. Holland?
So, Mr. Boyce, my question is, not this month because we didn't have a finance committee canceled, but last month, I believe. And I think Councilmember Smith was not at that one, and Councilmember Fredericks is gone. So I need somebody to refresh my memory, but I remember specifically asking the clerk treasurer how long it would take to implement the rate increases. And there was no end date for the clerk treasurer's office to change the utility rates, so we had voted to increase them. But I remember specifically asking, so how long does that take to change those in the system? And she didn't have an answer, and it could be months and months. So is that also why we have to do this? Because it still hasn't happened yet? I mean, because the way it was presented to me, my assumption was that the system that the city uses should be similar to every business owner in the universe, where if there's a tax increase, you just go in and change it, and then from then on, everything is taxed at that rate. But I guess the system that the city uses, you can't do that. You have to manually do it for every single person on every single bill for every single line item, is kind of the answer I got, or that was my interpretation of the answer that I got. So if we're now saying it's going to be October, is that October because we maybe could outsource utility billing, or is it going to take that long to change the utility bills with the system we have? Does that make sense? Nobody here but me, I think, was in that finance committee meeting.
I think you're getting two different things changed up there. I agree with you with the impression of what was given. The October date is for if city council goes to monthly billing. That's about when it could be implemented on their end. As far as utility rates, the new rate starts today,
So they've actually gotten that done.
Mr. Boyce. So then I think there was two different questions there from Mrs. Holland. And so I answered the first one about the October.
Yeah.
So the question on the table actually is the utility rates and has the system been updated?
For the April
Right.
bill.
So the effective date for the new bi-monthly rates would be today if city council adopts the order. And they will be in the system and ready for billing in April when the bills come out. So we will have that completed. As far as the timeline for the transition to a private contractor, part of that includes, making sure software is compatible and making sure both vendors take care of what they need to take care of, along with making sure all policies and procedures are in place so we're ready to go. And we will have to transfer quite a bit of data to Minol to get into their software system. So all of those factors together come into that 4 to 6 month time frame Minol's talking about if they're given the go ahead.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Boyce. And after hearing Mr. Randolph, it sounds like we may need an amendment to the motion to enter in a date on action item C. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Mr. Plaza.
Now, is it, Mr. Randolph, is it a requirement that we have a solid date, or can we just add something saying towards the effect of, as soon as the city's done doing whatever they need to do with the rates and Minol and everything else, that within 14 days, they have to bring it to the council? Or do we need a solid date, like October?
I mean, that's my idea, was because, again, like I said, I didn't want to have a series of resolutions or ordinances that we would have to change. So the only goal was, we know we want to go forward with a higher rate starting today, but in terms of whether it is bi-monthly or monthly, those details still need to be worked out. I would suggest setting something, if October or August, just as this is what the status is. If you go faster than that, the order can be canceled earlier and you could go into what was decided in the fall. If things are slow, again, it makes sense to me because there's still so many unknowns that put in an August date that's 4 months ahead. And then as you get closer to that August date, you'll know if it's realistic or not. Or if things go extremely well, you can always cancel the order before it. I would just suggest at least giving it 4 months.
I would ask that you put it to October 1st, because then we would bring it back on the 4th to you, which would be the first meeting in October. Does that sound reasonable, Mr. Boyce? No? Ms. Randall?
Yes, that sounds good to me.
All right.
We'll probably do that next.
Yes, Mr. Smith.
Can you hear me on that?
Yes.
Okay. As far as like all of the time and effort we're spending to investigate if Minol is the option we want to go, I personally have not talked to any of the council members about what their feeling is on going with Minol. So I'm pretty sure we're not supposed to do that unless we're in a council to have those conversations with everybody. So we do have to spend a little bit of effort and a little bit of money to make sure we're all coming up with the right answer to go with Minol at this point. So I think people don't realize the delays that are happening in live, because these are not easy discussions, because we have to have them in the council chambers in front of the public. So I personally don't know what people are going to vote, whether we should go for Minol or not at this point. So, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
So should I amend mine?
Yes, please.
I'll amend it to October the, what, 4th or 5th? 1st? Okay, October the 1st.
Second.
Moved by Councilmember Round, seconded by Councilmember Chapman. To amend the original motion on action item C to include October 1st as the date to be filled in on the orders. Seconded by Councilmember Chapman. Councilmember Rounds.
No comment.
Councilmember Chapman.
No comment.
Any further discussion? All right, we'll take a vote on the amendment only, just putting in October 1st on the orders. Councilmember Rounds.
Aye.
Councilmember Holland.
Aye.
Councilmember Smith.
Aye.
Councilmember Chapman.
Aye.
Councilmember Plaza.
Aye.
The ayes have it. Back to the action item C. Any further discussion on the motion on the floor to approve the City Council Order 2021-1? Mr. Plaza.
Okay, so from what I understand and right, the rate increase is going into effect today. You know, if we're postponing certain utility tax billings, is that going to have an effect on the rate? Are people going to be getting back charged, or how does that work?
So, Mr. Boyce, my understanding is that we are going to stay status quo. There were some changes in the original work that was done to lower, like I had stated earlier, that is now happening at this point. Is that correct, Mr. Boyce?
You know, that was the idea, that the water public utility tax was going to be reduced a certain amount. Council has the option of making that reduction now, continuing with that, since, you know, we are going forward with the increase, or it could delay it until the monthly billing goes through.
Okay, the increase is taking effect right now, so it's not being postponed.
Correct.
Just the monthly or bi-monthly aspect of it.
Correct.
Okay, that's what I was getting confused.
Okay.
Okay.
Mr. Smith?
So we do have a motion for an action item down one that is delaying the stormwater add-on also. So there is some cost that is being delayed on the next action.
Is that going to affect public works in any way? Like,
Ms. Coleman? You look like you might be free to speak.
Yes, I am.
She's fine. Is the delay of the enactment to start the new stormwater utility going to cause any issues or delays for public works? And if there are delays, what would those be?
So no more delays than we're already experiencing right now, which is not being able to fix some of the infrastructure that's in the city. We have some catch basins that need repaired, some stormwater pipe that need to be replaced with larger sizes. So it's existing conditions. When new failures come about, we just put them at the back burner and we do the most critical first. So the answer is the sooner the better always, but I understand that we have a process in place and we're trying to make it the best for the citizens. So we'll make it work until you guys have a solution in place. Did I answer the question as far as what type of items and what we'd be looking at? Did I answer your question?
yes, thank you.
Yes.
Okay, you're welcome.
Thank you. All right, seeing nothing else, I'll take a vote on action item C, City Council Order 2021-1. Councilmember Chapman.
Aye.
Councilmember Plaza.
Aye.
Councilmember Holland.
Aye.
Councilmember Rounds.
Aye.
Councilmember Smith.
Aye.
The motion has passed 5-0. Moving on to action item D, Council Order number 2021-2 in order to delay the enactment of the new stormwater utility.
I make a motion to approve council order 2021-2.
Does that one also need a date?
Yes, sir, it does.
Okay.
The date of October the 1st.
Perfect.
2021.
Thank
We'll
you.
save another motion.
Thank you.
Second.
Moved by Councilmember Rounds, seconded by Councilmember Chapman. Councilmember Rounds.
No comment.
Councilmember Chapman. Further discussion?
I think we discussed it on the
Yeah.
previous action item a little bit, so I think we're good.
All right, seeing nothing else, I'll take an order on action item D. Councilmember Holland.
Aye.
Councilmember Smith.
Aye.
Councilmember Chapman.
Aye.
Councilmember Plaza.
Aye.
Councilmember Rounds.
Aye.
The motion has passed 5-0. Moving on to action item E, adopt ordinance 1478, fourth quarter 20 budget amendments, or 2020 budget amendments, first and final reading.
Move to approve ordinance 1478.
Second.
Moved by Councilmember Chapman, second by Councilmember Plaza. Councilmember Chapman.
This is finalizing 2020.
Councilmember Plaza.
No comment.
Further discussion? Seeing none, I'll take a vote on action item F on fourth quarter, oh, I'm sorry, action item E, fourth quarter 2020 budget amendments. Councilmember Rounds.
Aye.
Councilmember Chapman.
Aye.
Councilmember Smith.
Aye.
Councilmember Holland.
Aye.
Councilmember Plaza.
Aye.
The motion has passed. Moving on to action item F, authorize mayor to sign collective bargaining agreement with the Woodland Police Association for contract period 2021 through 2023.
Move to approve action item F.
Second.
Moved by Councilmember Plaza, second by Councilmember Rounds. Councilmember Plaza.
No, it's good news that we reached an agreement with the Police Officers Association, and it did it in, compared to previous years, record time. And I think it's a win-win for everybody, so I think it's something that we should get in the works.
Councilmember Rounds.
Agree with Mr. Plaza.
Further discussion? Mr. Smith.
It sounds like the last contract been about 2 years delayed, and the city had to do a very big back payment check. So this will make it so there's not that big balloon payment hit to the budget. And it sounds like it went a lot better, and it's a good deal for everybody, I think.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. Seeing nothing else, I'll take the roll on action item F, authorize mayor to sign collective bargaining agreement with the WPOA for 2021 through 2023. Councilmember Holland.
Aye.
Councilmember Smith.
Aye.
Councilmember Plaza.
Aye.
Councilmember Chapman.
Aye.
Councilmember Rounds.
Aye.
The motion has passed 5-0. Moving on to action item G, authorize planning commission to hold a workshop and public hearing to develop new zoning code for mobile food trucks.
Move to approve action item G.
Second.
Moved by Councilmember Plaza, second by Councilmember Smith. Councilmember Plaza.
No comment.
Councilmember Smith.
No comment.
Further discussion? Seeing none, I'll take the roll on action item G. Councilmember Chapman.
Aye.
Councilmember Plaza.
Aye.
Councilmember Rounds.
Aye.
Councilmember Holland.
Aye.
Councilmember Smith.
Aye.
The ayes have it, 5-0. We've come to the portion of our meeting for adjournment, but before we do that, there's been some comment this evening during our chat here about public testimony. Members of the community have an opportunity to step forward to be in person or provide testimony to items on the agenda or not on the agenda at the beginning of every meeting. Every member is provided, that wants to speak is provided 5 minutes on the topic. We performed that process this evening, and I'm sorry that you missed out on that. I don't have a first name for you, but I know that you've been asking some questions here. We try to collect all those comments at the beginning. If you'd like to send an email, you can call the office, or we can provide some further information to you on a topic that you're looking for, or our next meeting is going to be, stand by. It's gonna be March. It's going to be March 2nd if you'd like to attend to provide testimony on items. At this time, we come to the portion for adjournment of our meeting.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Moved by Councilmember Round, seconded by Councilmember Chapman. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? The ayes have it. The time is 7:45. Thank you, everybody.